Okay, so let's start. Let's look at why mayhem. So when you think about what's going on with March Madness, and you think about all the change happening out there, I don't know about the rest of you, but this weekend we saw a change in who made it from the Elite Eight. And so that was kind of exciting to see all of that craziness. So now we're going to take a look at a video that will kick us off today about March Madness and the theme of our conference, which is all about mayhem. It's all about CUSO Mayhem. It's all about the changes in the future. So if we can we start off with the video?
Welcome to the road to the Final Four.
It started with 68. It's down to the Sweet 16.
Marquise Noel playing in front of his home crowd.
Oh, my
Look at this pass. A 3-point differential. Clock ticks. Walker. Oh, and he's stripped by Noel. Ball is loose. Noel comes out of the pack. Noel dribbles, and he lays it in. Kansas State wins it. The Wildcats are headed for the Elite Eight.
Gray Stone. Go!
Whoa! Flare screen, three, well executed.
Stonewalled, and they're not even going to get a shot off. Princeton's defense holds, and they're moving on. They pull off the upset in Salt Lake City.
Second game of the night here at MSG.
Florida Atlantic will battle Tennessee.
The very interesting matchup, two contrasting styles. Florida Atlantic a chance to take the lead, and it's going to be Forrest. Cash money! The Owls are in front. That is the ball game. Then Florida Atlantic is Elite Eight bound.
From Las Vegas, 3 consecutive seasons, UCLA and Gonzaga have played each other. Smith sticks it! UCLA has not scored from the field in almost 10 minutes. UCLA trailed 72-62 with 2.5 to go. And since that mark, a 14-3 run for UCLA. Strother for the lead. Bullseye!
Okay, so who's got their bets in for the championship? Anybody? Oh, we're not admitting it. We're in Vegas, man, you know? I'll tell you, when we watched the Final Four, we saw, okay, we did the video Friday, so lots can change in a couple of days, and it's amazing. That's our world today. That's our world, is that we think we have a plan on Friday, and by Monday, the world has changed. So today we're going to have a clock, a 3-minute clock up here. We're going to have our speakers start, and one of them will introduce their subject, their position. Then the opposition will say what they have to say, and then we'll pop back to the other side, and then back to the other side. And we want you all, you have some clappers there. Would everybody use the clapper for a second? You got to push them because they're kind of cheesy. All right. So we know that the subjects may not be what we all agree with, but let's do it. So before we start, I want to introduce you to our MC for CUSO March Madness. She doesn't know what I'm going to say, so I had fun with this. She's a starter, owner of Strategic Advisory Service, huge basketball fan, leads teams nationwide, develops game plans, and has a learn, love, kick-ass attitude. Will you join me in welcoming Brandi Stankovic?
Thank you. You think it's a little early in the day to call a technical foul on Sue? Would that not? No. Put her in the box. All right, I have the opportunity to introduce you to our first panel. Thank you all for being here. Our first topic, as you saw, is profit. Is it a bad word? No, profit's not a bad word, but we are in credit unions, so we want to have a bottom line impact. Do we pay dividends? Or do we reinvest those dollars back into the business and into technology? There is pressure to do both. Partners need the income, our owners need the income, and CUSOs need the cash to grow or maintain business, to remain relevant. So we're formed by not-for-profits, but to make a profit. Does the industry have patience? Who do we serve first? Our owners or essentially our future? So I'd like to introduce you to first Tyler Valentine, the CEO of Stage Point Federal Credit Union, is joining us on the paid dividends side. Next, we have Mary Beth Spuck, who is the president and CEO of Resource One Credit Union, joining Tyler. Should be right next to you. No, you go then. On the other side, who says, let's reinvest, we have Donna McNeely, who's the president of Connective Financial Management. You guys can go ahead and take a seat. And finally, we have Bill Butler, who's joined CEO of Kachinga. We've heard lots about. I know it's tight. When you guys come up here and join me, you'll see that it's tight, but it's because we have a lot of viewers that are watching in a digital format. So let's all give a round of applause to people that are watching us digitally. Hello, friends out there in the virtual world. And so I promise not to be standing in front of you for much longer. So Tyler's going to start us off, and then we'll head over to Donna. Back over. Sound good? Let's get started.
Thank you. As Brandi said, I'm on the pay dividend side. So I'm the CEO of an $80 million credit union in Laramie, Wyoming. When we think about a CUSO investment, we're thinking about certainly what the future holds, but it's also the services that CUSO is going to provide to the credit union and the trickle-down effect to the membership as well. But as a small credit union, we can't tie up all of our assets or a significant portion of our assets into something that isn't going to have a return back to the credit union. So if that investment is not something where I'm going to be paid a dividend to, I can't tie up that significant portion of my balance sheet into that CUSO investment. Obviously, that trickle down comes back to the members. If I don't have earning assets, I'm not making enough money to pay my members a dividend, which then has a spiral effect to, are they going to put their money with me? Am I going to be able to continue to have the deposits to do the loans to serve the members that I'm supposed to be serving? We have a large concentration of auto, which most people do, most credit unions do, but I also do a lot of non-prime lending. We do a lot with service interruption devices, and so we are really working to live the mission of serving the underserved, and it doesn't make sense for us. We can put those dollars into higher yielding loans to our members where we're actually helping and making a difference in the community versus that CUSO investment that may if it's long-term gains. I understand that in the future we might need that relevancy, but we're thinking about today and the members that we're serving today and the impact that we can make in the community today. So we really believe that if we're going to make that investment in the CUSO, that there needs to be a return to us in that.
Okay, thank you. I'm the president of the CUSOs for Connective Federal Credit Union, and I think we need to remember that not-for-profit is for the IRS. And I think sometimes we forget that because our members don't think of us as not-for-profit. They want us to be responsible with their money. So yes, we do need to ensure that we are making a return. However, there are things that come along with those investments that we make. For instance, I run the wealth management team. We are one of the few that have it inside of a CUSO. It takes about 3 years to become profitable, or if you bring on a new advisor, about 3 years for that person to become profitable. However, our members that have a wealth management relationship with us, they also have twice as many active products with the credit union versus our regular direct members. So there are other benefits that you're getting along that way to profit. So something that I thought we should remember.
Thank you. As a CEO of a low-income designated credit union and a CDFI, I look to my CUSO investments to generate non-interest income. When I look at my loan, my average loan and my average deposit, because I'm a low-income designated credit union, I'm significantly lower than my peers. right? So I have to look at other ways to generate income so that I can reduce those fees that my members are paying. So CUSO's investments are that way. And I look at it from the perspective of, if I don't pay dividends to my members, they're not going to stick around, right? So, but yet, as a leader of a credit union, I have to figure out a strategy of how do I pay dividends, but how do I also invest in technology for my credit union? And so if I'm looking at my CUSO partners, I'm looking for the same thing. I'm looking for the leadership to figure out how do I return dividends to my owners, but how do I also continue to build the CUSO in the organization?
All right, thank you. So I'm Bill Butler, and I run a fintech company, so a little bit different perspective here. Our company actually helps provide technology to educate kids and families and just be a resource for the community to teach kids about money. You know, my approach is different here because I'm a technology company, and so I definitely value the investment in technology. But setting that aside for a moment, you know, I do see both sides. It's really interesting, though, what it would take to invest or reinvest in the business. And so while I see the side of you know, the importance of paying out dividends, really from a technology standpoint, it's important to reinvest back into the business. And so really, as I think through that investment long term, there's a lot of different ways. Just a second. So in terms of investment, really the way I see it is there's three important aspects of investing, right? So you have to look at the competition, number one. You have to look at the speed of innovation. And number three, you need to look at the member experience, right? And so if you're not sustaining that for your members long term, really, there's not going to be the business to grow, right? There's not going to be the profit back to the business. And so that's really my argument, is that, you know, the competition is hot, right? So we look at March Madness, right? So there's a lot of competition. In our space, there's a lot of competition in the industry. We have neobanks, we have other banks, we have fintechs that are competing against our industry, right, to serve the members. And so, you know, it's really important to invest back into technology so that we can, you know, be competitive in the market. You know, as we look at the average age of the members in the space, right, it's approaching 50 years or older. That's a challenge, and I'd say part of that is because, you know, the technology piece is so important for the business. The second is the speed of innovation. So how many of you guys have tested out ChatGPT? Has anybody tried that out? Well, it's more than just a search engine tool, right? It's actually, you've got a lot of developers that are using it to be more efficient with technology. And, you know, I think that that's going to be an amazing, you know, amazing technology to follow. In our space, you know, we actually see great innovations in, you know, money movement and transfers. We see some great technology and compliance products and things like that. And all of it is essential to retain those members. And then that third piece, you know, is right around member experience, right? And so that is important overall, just because we may want to be the first and the primary financial institution for those members. That may not be possible, but we at least want more share and more opportunity with those members. So those are the three, I guess, reasons that I'd focus on you know, investing in technology.
I agree. I think this argument or this concept is different depending on where you sit in the credit union ecosystem. I think large credit unions have the ability to make that investment without having that immediate return, the non-interest income, and being able to have that. I think small credit unions, CDFI credit unions, those that don't have the resources to be able to have that longer-term technology or that longer-term investment without an immediate return. That's where we have a difference of how we, I think, see this and approach it, and it really depends on where you sit in that credit union ecosystem.
I do agree with that. I think it is also, though, important to think about. I just totally lost my train of thought. So, Brandi.
I was just going to ask the question and then, of course, put it up for anybody else with questions. But do we need a shift of mindset for credit unions in looking to a CUSO to be an investment opportunity? So if we are reinvesting those dollars and continue to build for the future for services, am I going to a CUSO to actually get a return on investment?
I think there's different reasons for investing in CUSOs or collaboration. Could be to reduce expenses, right? Share operational areas and be able to reduce expenses. Sometimes it's just flat out an investment vehicle to return non-interest income. So I think there's different avenues of to why. And so you need to figure that out. But I think also, if we're looking to say that CUSOs are the savior, so to speak, for small credit unions, okay, if they're going to do that, they need to be able to have some sort of a return, whether it's you're going to be reducing their expenses, but we can't expect them to invest in CUSOs and let them to sit on the sidelines and wait until a profit is turned and that a return comes back, because then that won't save them from being merged out of existence.
So if it's something that you are looking to offer your members anyway, you need to, I think your point about, is it going to reduce the cost that I have to spend to be able to offer that, I think that's a really valid point. So it's not going to necessarily give you an ROI, and doesn't make sense for smaller credit unions to offer or to invest in a CUSO just for the return.
From an investment standpoint, we are all accountable to our investors. And as I was thinking about this, I mean, I could be one-sided because I'm a technology company. Hey, you should invest in technology. But in reality, we have to, we have to produce something for the investors. I'd say with the market how it is right now, and back to my point, the competition is hot, right? So even if you're a small credit union, it's important to invest something in technology. And so I know that, the CUSOs, each one needs to evaluate its financial position in light of what is required for the investors and what's required for the members. But if you don't invest in technology, you could become obsolete. And that's really our whole goal is, there's got to be a fine balance between the two.
Well, as a credit union, I have to invest in technology, but I still have to pay dividends to my members. I don't think it's an either or.
Right, it's certainly not an either or, and we both talked about having to pay the dividends to our member. That situation or that environment has become increasingly competitive as well, and especially in this environment now, liquidity is a major topic of conversation, and so those dividends that we're paying to our members have really risen to the top of the conversation really quickly, where before, for the past several years, that really hasn't been a focus because dividends have been so low, so it wasn't necessarily a consideration. And so we have to really be mindful of that, and we also have to have the capital to weather these, once in a lifetime financial crises that seem to happen every 2 or 3 years now. And so it really, we have to, from a profitability perspective, our institutions have to be profitable in order to have the capital to invest in technology and pay dividends to the members. So there's a lot of balance and leadership and management that happens.
So would you say, though, that it's different demographics, right? Some demographics, the younger people, they want technology, they want the bells and whistles. The older demographic, which I think we all have a lot of, they're looking for the dividends. We need those dividends because we do need to be able to sustain the credit union, but it's two different people we're trying to serve, or two different demographics we're trying to serve.
Absolutely, and we need both. We used to have an ideal member. Now we have two. We have the depositor, and we have the younger family. What we would have said was our ideal member 3 years ago is different. Now we just added one because we also need that depositor, and they're looking for the dividends and less of the technology. And so it is a divided focus.
Well, and I'd argue that even the depositor likely has, the potential to be a broader customer, right? And so that's part of the challenge of being primary financial institution with, that customer, right? If you're not offering the services that they need, you may get their deposits, but maybe not all their deposits. And in addition, you might not be getting other services that they could be, using through you.
Any questions from the group out here? All right, so I'd like you guys, oh, we have one in the back? All right, coming around. We want to get you on the mic because people online are listening.
Quick question. So we're a new CUSO, and we provide services to our clients. How do you convince them to invest in the CUSO if they're benefiting from the services that you're providing through just the fact that they pay your fees? So how do you take that next step to get them to invest and buy in?
To go from user to owner. Is that fair?
So what are you offering to entice me to invest in your CUSO? What's my return?
That's my question. That's how as a new CUSO starting out, we don't have a lot of cash flow to pay out.
Got it. So can you lower my monthly expense that I'm paying you?
As an investor?
Yes.
We're recording, so.
Yeah, but I see CUSOs do that where that owners have a lower cost than just users. So could you provide that to me?
Right. So there's a return in some way, lowering operating costs through the investment, right? It's going to cost me less every month, which comes back as profit to the credit union because it's lower operating expenses. So yeah, I agree with that.
In my background, I'm a product guy at heart, and so there's going to be needs that aren't being met, right? And so in addition to lowering those costs, there may be something compelling that the member or investor combination wants that they don't yet have. And so there's got to be that mutual need that's being filled between the two.
We have.
Gary Brandt. We've just come off of a 40-year declining interest rate environment, and we could be in for a 40-year rising interest rate environment. How are you guys thinking about that relative to profits and giving back to your members?
This interest rate environment is the first time in my lifetime, right, that this is happening. And I think that for a lot of CEOs, it's the first time that they've seen it as well. I think for us, we've always tried to take a middle road when it came to reinvestment and member benefit. We really try to communicate the work that we do in the underserved communities in order to also then those people that have resources appeal to them. This is what we're doing with your dollars in our market. Basically have your accounts with us because it's benefiting the community as a whole. And we've tried to really tell that story well. I think the rising interest rate environment, what's changed with that is obviously the impact to cost of funds because it's risen dramatically in a very short period of time. And again, we're trying to walk that middle road, not have deposits run out our door because we need the liquidity because I'm 99% loaned out. You can all go look at my call report because we're doing the work in our community that we feel like we should be doing. But it's walking a fine line of what we can do with the dollars that we have, and it's becoming increasingly, I don't know, difficult, but there's a more intense focus for us right now on that because of the liquidity position of the credit union.
We have a question back here.
I was wondering, the question the gentleman posed earlier about getting current users of the CUSO, and the response was you could variable price it for owners versus just at the normalized user. If you're going to invest in a CUSO, could you speak to what a credit union might want to assess the period of return if you've got a new a new branch, you're not expecting that branch to break even for 3 to 5 years, or some other investment that services directly the members. So in this situation, to expect as a new owner or somebody that's using the service and buying in, what would you do in the business model design and its cash flow and its rate of return from, like, say, year 1 to year 5, and what kind of steps would you take since you run a group that runs the CUSOs for the organization? What's your pattern? I think that might be helpful to the audience to understand, the timeline and the sequence and how that gets built up as part of the business model.
It really does depend on what the business line is, right? So investments, insurance is primarily what I do. Always looking for other opportunities that the credit union may want to invest in. But since we already do have 3 CUSOs that we know it takes 3 years for those to turn a profit, we would be looking for something similar.
Appear to me, you're really talking about probably the two primary ways to distribute net income. You're looking at retained earnings, which you can use for investment purposes or reinvestment, and you're looking at distribution. I think there's some others that we as CUSOs need to consider, things like, when's the last time we reduced our prices to not only our owner credit unions, but the non-owner credit unions that may use our services as well. When's the last time, if you have a COLA adjustment in your annual contract, when's the last time you waived COLA because you had a good year and you were able to do that, so that you benefit both not only your ownership, but your user base as well. So I think that in many cases, I know a good number of CUSOs pretty much have the same pricing model they had when they got started. And today they've turned out to be very successful, very profitable, and yet probably don't look at all the mechanisms available to really provide a disruptive pricing model in the industry to control more of the industry's business.
We have one last comment question.
I want to go back to, my name is Bill Beardsley. I'm CEO of a commercial lending CUSO. I want to go back to this gentleman's comment about how do you, basically position yourself for future owner investors. And I would take the opposite approach. I think owners could pay more than non-owners because they're investing in a future return from that entity and for the opportunity to have impact on the success of the industry and of that company. And by the way, if you have non-owners using your services, seeing owners pay more, they're more likely to pay more as well and generate a return on investment.
All right, let's give our panel a warm round of applause.